Shanghai, China. It's the largest metropolis on Earth, suffering under the burden of 23 million people. But something is happening here, which may change the way our cities work forever.
This building is actually one of its kind. No one has ever built this type of building before.
An army of construction workers is racing against the coming typhoon season to create something completely new. A haven with every amenity, with clean air, and with sunlit gardens perched high above the crowded streets. This is a whole new district, rising 2,000 feet vertically and packed into a single building. It is the Shanghai Tower, the city within the city, and it is a super skyscraper.
Super Skyscrapers was made possible in part by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
It's 6 a.m., Monday morning, in the world's most populous city. 13 million people are on their way to work. There's a reason why these workers are all dressed the same, and why 60 identical buses are converging on the same point. They're all coming here, to this building site. 3,000 workers will punch in this morning. But in a year's time, when it opens for business, the Shanghai Tower will be a workplace for 30,000. In fact, it will be a complete, self-contained neighborhood, packed into a single block. A vertical city rising inside China's tallest building.
Shanghai is a great city, and because of diversity makes it very rich, alive.
For more than 100 years, Shanghai has been China's commercial powerhouse. It has been expanding unchecked, and it shows no signs of stopping. The city is reaching a crisis point.
所以城市病的现象在这个城市当中也会有体现。
Problem one is pollution. 1 billion gallons of raw sewage hit the rivers every day. In a country where smog kills 1 million people every year, Shanghai's levels are now among the worst. Problem two is congestion. The number of cars has increased 5 times in less than a decade.
那么从目前来讲，上海可能它主要的一个交通可能是一个比较大的一些问题。
The third problem is simply space, or lack of it. Every square foot is accounted for.
上海以前叫邮票绿地，就上海以前大面积的绿化是很少的，它都是小小的，就像我们寄信的那个邮票，那一小块一小块，我们叫邮票绿地，那是上海以前的一个概念。
Pudong, where the Shanghai Tower is being built, looked like this in 1985. This is Pudong today.
And we have great density, the city, and there's so much population. And the infrastructure in the streets, it's relatively still old.
All in all, the city had become a tough place to live. And it was clear that a radical idea was needed before life in Shanghai became impossible.
关于上海这个城市，这也是我们当初为什么要造这么大体量的一个建筑。
The team behind the Shanghai Tower selected a site across the river from the old heart of the city, known as the Bund. Historically a financial center, it's now also a place for people to relax, eat, and shop. The intention was to create a version of this for the 21st century.
Traditionally speaking, a city with that length, with a major street, arterial street go across, and they have a horizontal street, divide them into blocks. Each of them have a street corner and have maybe some kind of community park, and have a restaurant, coffee shops, and hotels, offices horizontally. Then you lift them into vertical. And this is actually how the Shanghai Tower is.
To meet the needs of modern Shanghai, they wouldn't use cars to get around.
We are offering you all aspects of your life. Either you go to work, you have food, or you have entertainment.
They'd have hotels, restaurants, shops, but most importantly, space.
In the building, they have this neighborhood community, make them feel easy to live in the building.
But given that Shanghai is already full, there was only one way left to build, and that was up.
做一个形象的比喻，就是现在我们上海的外滩，我们是57万多平，基本接近了，就是把它竖起来了。
This is the vision. A solid core reaching 1/3 of a mile into the sky. 121 floors divided into 9 separate sections or levels. Encased inside a glass curtain wall, it rises 2,073 feet. And covering the entire structure, a second skin made of smooth, twisting glass. And the gap between them will be for gardens with up to 180 feet of headroom. In the middle of a polluted megacity, there will be light, there will be trees, there will be space, and there will be cool, fresh air. But delivering all that, at heights never seen before in this country, will test the building's engineers to their limits. It's the 4th of June, 2013. 3 years since the foundations were poured. In that time, the core has climbed to 1,800 feet. The Shanghai Tower is already China's tallest building. So far, this vertical city has demanded nearly 1 million tons of material.
This is 120 or 121.
Ben Trinell, one of the architects on the project, is at the top of the Shanghai Tower's still growing core to oversee a huge challenge. The workers are weaving a steel mesh around which concrete will be poured. While it sets, it will be held in place with temporary panels called formwork.
The formwork is down below, and they lift the formwork up into place, and then they pour the concrete, and they'll do a several-story section at once, and then they just repeat that process. That process just keeps going up the building.
It's a conventional process, made extraordinary by the pace of the work and the sheer height.
It started in the basement, and 2 years later, it's unbelievable. I mean, you look at every individual tie, and you think somebody tied all of these pieces. As an architect, I always feel a certain sort of humility when I come to a job site like this, because you realize so many people have to work so hard on details that you never see just to make it come to life. You know, really amazing.
Work on the core is around the clock. At their current rate, they can lay enough concrete and steel for the building to rise by 1 story every 5 days. But they still have 8 floors to go, and that means they need to go faster. While the challenges are the same as with any super tall skyscraper, this project faces a unique kind of pressure. Shanghai's typhoon season comes at the same time every year, and this year it begins on the 3rd of August, a mere 8 weeks away. Once the typhoon season starts, work will become impossibly dangerous. In that time, as well as bringing the core to its full height, the crews face 2 other big challenges. First, to get one of the 20-ton units which will supply the building's air up to the 82nd floor. And second, to seal in the area that will hold the 5th of the 9 sky gardens with a curving glass wall 15 stories high.
Typhoon is the biggest enemy to construction. almost 1/3 of the time, we have to stop work for the typhoon. In Shanghai, the typhoon can be very strong. It's like a hurricane. Trees on the road can be pulled off, roof can be pulled off. This is a very serious situation. We have to make sure the building is safe, and then we make sure the worker evacuate.
Any problems on the ground are multiplied at height. This is the trade-off for making the vertical city. Once finished, the design will hold its occupants in a sealed, protective bubble. But until it's sealed, the weather can get in. If that happens, the winds here will rip the building apart. But the tower's architects will risk a few weeks' vulnerability to see their vision realized. In fact, they've made choices that would be unthinkable on other skyscrapers. They've decided that whether you're on the 10th floor or the 100th, an airy, sunlit, open space must be within easy reach.
这些空中大堂除了它节能上的一些作用以外，其实它提供了一个每一个区域里面的这些人群，他们有一个沟通交流的一个空间。
In the world of skyscrapers, where every square foot is normally jealously guarded for office space, it's a unique idea. And it leads to a unique engineering challenge, where any modern skyscraper will have a skin of glass surrounding its core. This building will have two. A normal skin housing offices, plus another one on the outside, up to 60 feet away.
We can use this in-between space to make the extreme weather, either in the wintertime or the summertime, be less extreme.
The problem with a revolutionary design is that there isn't a precedent to follow. And building two skins, or curtain walls, around the same concrete core is a little like building one skyscraper inside another.
This building is actually one of its kind. No one has ever built this type of building before.
Daniel Choi is in charge of this part of the tower's construction. His challenge is to make glass appear to float.
In a normal building, we build a curtain wall attached to the structure, which is a stable structure.
While the conventional solution would be to fill the space with steel supports, this would defeat the object of an empty, airy garden in the sky.
We don't want to see a bulky steel appear behind the curtain wall. So the idea is to have the outer skin of the curtain wall clean, so you can see through it, then you see the inside of the building. So we need to slim down the steel.
A slimline steel structure would collapse under its own weight. How can they support a 15-story section of glass wall using the bare minimum of metal?
One floor of the curtain wall, it has a total weight of 115 tons. In this case, we have changed the way of building the curtain wall.
Instead of fighting gravity, they're using it. The framework that holds all the glass isn't sitting on the floor below. It's suspended from the floor above.
Instead of the traditional way of stacking structures up, this time we turn it upside down, so we hang the structures. All the exterior curtain wall is hanging on this ring beam structure, and then this ring beam structure extends from the bottom of the floor to this atrium floor.
Once the process is repeated on all 9 levels, these will be the hanging gardens of Shanghai. But how to actually build the framework baffled the engineers. The workers couldn't do their jobs while floating in midair. They'd need a solid floor to stand on. On top of that, they'd have to find a way to build downwards, while traditional scaffolds always build up. In desperation, the architects turned to this man, Dr. Jia Baorong, 32 years old, a structural engineer, and the project's resident maverick.
要不用扳手拧来？也比以前那个好多了。对，这个比以前的好的，以前那个太柔了。以前这全部都是没连起来。
在上海中心这样一个超级的工程面前， 它有很多的这种复杂的设计、复杂的计算，那必须由我来完成。
What Dr. Jia proposed was a uniquely fresh approach to the problem.
The structural engineer has to offer a solution.
The solution that he dreamt up was a moving scaffold. He calls it the flying saucer.
所以我们设计了这样一个如履平地的这样一个平台。觉得这个想法太不可思议了，不可能做成功。那也是通过我们的努力把它做成功了。这样的事情可能还有很多。
Dr. Jia's flying saucer climbs to the top of a level and then slides down the core while workers add steel ring beams floor by floor. It's 100 tons of mobile scaffold that moves at the touch of a button. Dr. Jia knows his invention is vital to the success of the project.
没有这个平台，我们的幕墙支撑体系，包括我们的幕墙系统是无法实现的，无法实现。我们团队都非常自豪，非常自豪。
Dr. Jia is under constant pressure to make sure there are no holdups. The level 5 support structure his team is working on, all 15 floors of it, must be finished before the glass can be installed.
现在排下来基本上是没有一天，刮风下雨也得做，排得非常非常紧，这个压力大，这没办法，没办法。
And there is one thought in the back of everyone's minds.
我们又要过一个台风季节，又要过一个台风季节，就给我们压力也非常大。
In the beginning, the idea of the vertical city might have seemed a simple one. It saves space, and it lifts its inhabitants above the polluted city streets. But this solution creates a whole new set of complex problems.
We would be expecting to have winds anywhere between 120 to 170 miles an hour at the top of the building. And that's sustained wind speeds, that's not gust speeds.
All tall buildings are affected by wind. And at the design stage, architects allow for the fact that they will sway. Occasionally, occupants of the higher floors will report that they can feel that movement and find it unbearable.
It's a bit like motion sickness. So if you've ever been on a boat, for example, it's not typically a very large force, but a force that's as small as 1% of one's body weight. That's the sort of motion where people really start to feel uncomfortable.
The team behind the Shanghai Tower told their architects that any sort of sway was unacceptable. People meeting in a sky garden had to feel like they were standing on solid ground, even if they were on the 90th floor.
这有点像欧洲的一些城市，一些小城市，它有很多的广场。一个小城市里面会有很多小的广场，那么这些广场的目的就是给这些社区的人，他有一个公共交流沟通的一个空间。
Michael Peng is part of the team of architects that wrestled with this problem right at the start of the design process. They knew that rounding the corners of the building would help reduce the sway.
Highest wind pressure always happens at the corner.
More importantly, they knew that shifting the corners of the building as it climbed would have a dramatic effect.
We build this thing up with the different twist option. The more twist, you get more kind of pressure reduction.
The twisted building has much more wind reduction, which compared to a square building will reduce about 24% of wind load.
This was the decision that would define the shape of the Shanghai Tower. The question of how much to twist the building was put to a group of wind tunnel experts, led by Peter Irwin.
What we found was that as we twisted the Shanghai center more and more, we got reduced wind loads. So when the twist was up to 180 degrees, that's what gave us the lowest wind load.
180 degrees delivered a structure that would not only be aerodynamic, it would also be rigid.
是我们从工程设计、从结构设计的角度。
If you have a very rigid building, it's probably going to be a very expensive building.
That's a polite way of saying that the perfect architectural solution would cost way too much. For perhaps the only time in the process, they agreed to look for a compromise.
So the amount of twist on this model is 180 degrees, but we also explored twists down at, say, 100 degrees as well.
In the end, they settled on a twist of 120 degrees. This would keep the sway to a comfortable minimum for people inside and create an unmistakable silhouette on the Shanghai skyline.
So that's why we choosing 120 degrees. But 180 is better. But we can't do that.
Another unique feature is the 1.4 million square feet of glass that wraps the building. It's about more than shape. It took a full 3 years of trials to produce a glass that met the planner's demands. Able to stand up to Shanghai's unique climate and weather, maximizing protection, minimizing reflection, blocking out glare when the sun is high, but allowing the sky gardens to flood with light. And most importantly, able to withstand the typhoons that will buffet them every season. It is the most technologically advanced glass available anywhere. Once the panels are sealed, stacked, and shipped onto the site, the hard task of installing them begins. There are now less than 6 weeks before the typhoon season hits. The slimline curtain wall support system for the Sky Gardens on level 5 is complete, but half the glass has yet to be installed. This is a critical period. Without its skin, the level is wide open to the elements, and left unsealed, it is in danger of being ripped apart should a typhoon strike. As if to prove the point, a sudden downpour hits Shanghai, a precursor of the storms to come. As soon as the downpour subsides, Kong Ching Wei, the head of the company that owns the building, comes to the unsealed level 5 to see the damage.
2天落雨湿不得了，这个湿没地方跑了嘛。1天2天侬根本上不上来人啊，湿了跑呀，搞台风没啥个嘞，要到个地步。改成正好了涨了，还没就风特，风特就少了，是不是？太快了，太快了。
The downpour has cost them 5 valuable days. Chairman Kong Ching Wei leaves with a directive. The time must be made up. The comfort of the vertical city's future occupants comes first. And that means that for the next 5 weeks, life for the builders will be hell. In that time, they must finish installing the huge glass panels and seal up the curtain wall. Fu Siwei, in charge of the level 5 glazing team, is acutely aware of the time pressure.
就干活的时候稍微注意一点，没事的时候千万别往外面出。那我就好了，对吧？行了，这算什么？
There are 7 floors to be finished and sealed before typhoon season begins, or the winds could destroy the entire level.
我们想准备挂到今天做50块，50块玻璃。
First, Fu Siwei's team have to climb out onto the edges of the damp steel beams.
9点半了，你看这天往下都看不到什么东西，这天气对我们来说是非常大的挑战，而且我们操作面整个都是湿的，上面很危险的。哎，小阿姨，到位了没有？ 把你们撬杠什么都绑好啊，小工具系绳之类的全部给它到位。
Next, they must hoist the soaking wet glass panels outside the building before hanging them nearly 1,000 feet above the ground. Each custom-made half-ton window is then swung towards its position on the curtain wall. Finally, the bravest workers, with only the narrow beams to stand on, must inch the frames into place. But it's slow, dangerous going.
因为这个工地，一旦稍微出现一点事情，会整个就牵涉到很大的，全世界都能知道的。我们因为安全责任是非常重大。
Daniel Choi, the curtain wall's project manager, is also worried. He knows that from here on in, working conditions can only get worse.
主要关注工人的安全。现在雾比较大，大家小心点。
安全注意啊，千万脚别站滑了。
These workers are used to moving about at extreme heights and have become virtually blind to the dangers.
所以说呢，这档级也大了一点啊，让他们这个安全方面呢，主要要注意一下。Of course, a building like this size, we have pressure on schedule. We need to complete the building at a certain time. Yeah. So between safety and schedule, so we take safety. 我们要抢在这个台风来以前。
Daniel's decision to put safety first means his team is behind schedule. At the end of the day, they only have 43 panels installed, 7 short of the daily target. At this rate, they will miss their deadline by 5 days and be at the mercy of the typhoon season. At this late stage, even meal breaks have to be run with military precision. Lunch for this many workers takes a platoon of dedicated caterers.
每天嘛，大概将近有大概1000，就是跟着人数，下雨嘛就是少一点，下雨人家不好干活的，对吧？
Eventually, the tower will house dozens of restaurants. But for now, lunch takes place wherever there are workers to feed.
跟那几天不一样的，每天换一次。这是大排，这是茭白炒蛋，这是小青菜，这是洋葱。
There's one group of men whose lunch will have to wait. Because today marks a milestone in the journey towards the completion of the Shanghai Tower. A key part of the vision for this building, the creation of a self-contained vertical community, was that its occupants should be free from the smog and the extremes of temperature that blight the rest of Shanghai. Now, the vast chiller units, which will regulate the building's air quality, in effect, its lungs, have arrived. Word has come in that company chairman Kong Ching-wei wants to see them in place before the end of the day. He's taking a special interest in this part of the build.
上海中心就像我们家的小孩。
It's up to Yuan Wengen's team to navigate Shanghai's treacherous winds and get the unit installed.
设备是双控控的冷水机组，是很重要，是我们地下2层的能源中心的重要设备。
While one 20-ton unit is earmarked for the plant room on the 82nd floor, this one needs to join 2 others just like it 2 floors down in the bowels of the building. And to get there, it also has to be moved 50 yards through the basement. Even though this is the most advanced building in China, the solution is one engineers have used for thousands of years.
看似简单，但它确实能够承担这个责任。
The crowded basement is a labyrinth of beams and pillars. A pathway has been planned, and the chiller unit should fit through, but it's going to be a tight squeeze.
碰到一点问题，我这里因为就是那个，因为这里有个水泥嘛，水泥柱子嘛，这里差就是1-2公分的，有点碰，可能要碰。现在我把它借过去，可以解决，没问题。
Once installed, this chiller unit can never come out again, so damaging it even slightly is out of the question, which makes this a high-risk strategy.
哎，不要把它设备，不要把它设备啊！
With the unit in place, Yuan Wengen orders a quick break. But it's not for long, because the second unit won't be so easy. It has to be installed 1,000 feet up, and time is short. Kong Ching Wei is set to arrive any minute. This chiller unit is the size of an SUV, but it weighs 20 tons. And because of the sensitive high-tech equipment inside, it's worth $500,000.
我们吊起来呢，所以我们分量重，我们进去的时候呢，设备腾空进去呢比较困难，所以我们呢做了这一个20吨的吊篮。
The platform starts its climb. The installation crew will meet it at the 82nd floor. Between the lip of the building and the edge of the moving platform, there is nothing but air and a 1,000-foot drop. Yuan Wengen's crew will have to bridge the gap and slide the chiller in.
因为它和楼面有个间隙的，我们要把它靠上去以后填满。这个时候呢，也就是相对来说比较危险，因为一个是在这个洞口嘛，建筑物的最旁边嘛。
别动得啊！太低嘛，刚生产就好了，好。
The unit comes to rest at the edge of the building. Yuan Wengen wants it inside as soon as possible.
现在是这样，因为呢，今天不是要有台风嘛，现在风已经比较大了，比上午已经大了许多了。
The plan is to use a winch, but preparations are taking a long time. And 82 floors below, the chairman's car is just arriving on site.
我们这个靠进来的时候比较晃，比较危险。
The chiller unit is stuck halfway across the gap, dangling precariously in space 1,000 feet above the ground.
我们是这样的，就是进来的时候嘛，它都是设备进入楼层了，因为2个脚在后面，那设备的中心呢还是在这个平台的后方，平台的这里在外档，那么这个外面呢就重了，上面呢就抬起来了，那么这个时候呢就是我们的塔吊呢就松下来一点，不要让它浮起来。
The chiller unit is tilting backwards, away from the edge. The workers must pull it forwards gently onto the 82nd floor. If they jerk it, it'll pull loose and fall to the city below. tearing a hole down the side of the building as it goes and endangering the lives of anyone underneath. After 35 minutes, they managed to get the unit off safely. Yuan Wengen may be happy with his workers, but it's not him they have to impress. Chairman Kong Ching-wei wants a report on his new skyscraper.
基本上9位出得多了吧？现在能搞10名的吧？今天尽量的话5个尽量。
搞侬管不上去啊！搿只全世界没个晓得吧？
没啊！
这是全世界最高的设备，这是一个非常大胆的设想。在这么高的建筑当中，我们搞了一个空中的设备层，在300米的高度，把这种想法变成了现在的这个做法。所以现在看到的这个，可以在建筑史上是没有的。
就是
这里的这个上海的，你是在最高的地方干活的，
是
啊，站高望远，啊，
铁工呀，有步要出场。
Installation can wait until tomorrow. Once the units are functioning, they'll provide clean, cool air for the Shanghai Tower, no matter how bad the air outside might be.
本来也很担心，因为毕竟这么高，虽然平时也做过，但是这么高风也今天也比较大的风，我们也碰到了一些难题，但是我们也解决了。
It appears to be a day of inspections. While Kong Ching-wei is pleased with what he sees, his business partner, General Manager Gu Jianping, has arrived unannounced in the offices on level 3. This level is at the final stages of completion.
哎，侬搿搭怎么了？哎，搿条缝侬哪能处理法子？
因为做室内装修必须是非常精细，每一个细部都要考虑到。
啊，伊没做好呀。那么侬还有个呢？哎，侬看啊，搿搭侬，侬看啊，侬看搿个角呀，侬肯定做好呀。我现在来看搿只物事，侬看，侬看，还是有问题的呀。喏，我就讲搿块物事哦，搿是太难看啊。眼睛死了。那么我可能更多的是从整个效果，从以后租户。 他的感受，他的使用方便，那么我们从这个角度对他们提出很多的要求。我就讲侬搿搭只物事有问题，你坏了，还有搿搭只哪能办？搿只也做好搿能介啦，搿只做好搿能介，啊，搿只太难看了。
很多细节的部分，那么应该讲，从我的角度来讲，我对这些细部的一些处理，我是不太满意的，所以今天在跟他们讲。
If the workers aren't paying attention to detail, that can set alarm bells ringing. And on a build this complex, detail can be the difference between triumph and disaster. 6 days after Gu Jianping's inspection, architects Michael Peng and Ben Trinell are called to what is going to be the Level 5 Sky Garden. They have been told that all the glass for this level is in place, a full 10 days ahead of schedule. But they're concerned that in the race to finish the job, corners may have been cut. It is critical that they identify any problems now before the real bad weather sets in.
I was worried about the joinery of the horizontal to the vertical. That's not the right detail, is it?
Right.
Do they do it everywhere like that?
This one looks better than this corner. I think this will be the worst case.
That one, look at it right there, the conflict, it's really sagging.
Yeah.
That looks terrible.
Let's see.
1 minute. That looks terrible.
Right?
What a mess.
There is clear cause for concern. The work done doesn't match the drawings that Ben and Michael gave the builders.
So this detail was something that we talked about with them a while back, and we were expecting something different than what they did. We drew something different than what they've done. That happens a lot. So that one, it's not very flat, right? So he can fix that.
Yeah.
As they start to question the workmanship, Ben and Michael have to wonder how deep the problems go. They want to see for themselves how the windows stand up.
横向的这个，这边过去1米，那边过去1米，就是这个横向。We are doing the water test, so the labor spray the water to check this joint, the water tight or not.
A number of panels are chosen at random. They'll have to withstand a full 5 minutes of a simulated tropical storm without springing a leak.
We need a ladder or something. If they bring that scaffold over, we could be up there.
A level 16 typhoon will dump up to 7 inches of rain in an hour. There's only one way to deliver that much water in a test.
Be careful, Michael.
2 guys dangling from a rope at the height of the Eiffel Tower with a high-pressure water hose.
This is the kind of test I was going to say is very boring until it's exciting. It's exciting when there's a leak. So you don't want any excitement. You want it to be boring.
If the curtain wall isn't completely sealed, the wind and rain at this height will eventually tear the glass panels from their positions. So on this test, there are no shortcuts.
He needs to stay on that spot for 5 minutes.
Okay, so stay on one panel 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. He's only been there for 3 minutes, I think. It's passed so far. We'll go back and see if they're still passing, but so far so good.
If every panel passes, level 5 will be sealed. A 15-story tall open space, proofed against even the harshest storms. And with the climate control units in place, the architect's vision appears within reach. Inside a year, this will be a sky garden. Now there's one challenge left to complete: the final top level of the core. For the last 3 years, as the Shanghai Tower has risen, 4 huge tower cranes have supplied the core with building material, nearly 1 million tons of it so far. Those cranes have had to reposition themselves constantly to stay above the build. Now they're higher up than any crane in China has ever been before.
刚开始击出这个塔基的时候，我们也挺害怕的。想到的就是，万一这个雷要是劈着我怎么办？
Li Jie is a crane driver. He's been on this project since it started, 3 years ago, and nearly 1,900 feet below.
我女朋友也是经常打电话让我注意安全，毕竟她也不知道这么高，会很危险。
To complete the job, the cranes must lift themselves one more time. There is a new sense of urgency, because this year typhoon season will be starting right on time. A typhoon is forming in the Pacific, and it is predicted to hit Shanghai and the tower in 5 days.
整个塔吊爬升的推迟影响到是我们的工期。 如果我们塔吊的爬升延迟，意味着我们的主体结构的核心筒进度滞后。
In theory, jumping a crane is a simple matter of putting one bracket round the top of the crane mast and removing the one on the bottom so the crane can continue to push itself upwards. In practice, it's far from simple. This is a 20-story, 40-ton structure strapped to the side of a building by nothing more than 2 welded brackets. The pressure to complete the job is enormous. In 5 days' time, the news crews that have followed it since the beginning will be here to witness the placing of the final piece. That won't happen unless the crane jumps on schedule.
就本来不说今天发嘛，
哦，那个
都改到明天了。
因为昨天下雨嘛，下雨的话影响那个爬升框的安装。
如果说今天装框装了以后，明天就可以爬了。
明天可以爬，如果说在条件允许的情况下就。
The new bracket is in the process of being welded to the side of the core. If it's not done properly, the crane could easily tear the bracket from the wall, and the whole rig will fall to the city below. This is a job that can't be rushed. The welders have worked through the night. Now the crane inspector, Oh Yang, has arrived. He will decide if the move can take place. His inspection must start with a 5-story descent inside the crane's mast. Then there is no choice but to step out, 1,850 feet above ground, onto a wet, temporary walkway on the side of the core. Finally, to inspect the bracket, he has to climb around it. The danger signs on the oscillograph tell Oh Yang what he needs to know. At several points on the bracket, the welding is unsafe. It looks like the rush to complete the job has led to more compromises.
查那个超音波查出来里面有一点缺陷，已经到了超标这个位置。那么我们为了认真起见呢，这个缺陷呢肯定是要把它彻底清理干净、处理干净之后，再把它烧电焊烧好。
The welding gang goes down for a second attempt. Every minute lost now threatens the entire project, but this is their last chance to get it right. After the welders have finished, Oh Yang checks again.
OK， 检测下来没问题，都是符合标准要求。这个检测已经全部结束了。
The crane jump can finally take place. All the materials can be lifted up, and work on the core can continue. Every tall building has a topping out ceremony. The moment when the highest part of the main structure is symbolically put in place. In the case of the Shanghai Tower, this is a 7-ton steel brace that has to be installed today, the 3rd of August. It's an auspicious day in the Chinese calendar, but it also happens to be the official start of Shanghai's typhoon season. And there's one on the way. On this day last year, 4 inches of rain fell on Shanghai in 12 hours. The floods affected huge parts of the city, killing 2 people. On the ground floor, the gates to the building site have been thrown open. All eyes are on Chairman Kong Ching-wei. He has promised his various partners that the topping out ceremony, broadcast live on local and national television, will be a triumphant spectacle. If it doesn't go seamlessly, he stands to lose face very publicly. He's not the only one feeling the stress. Also in the spotlight today is his star worker, Dr. Jia Baorong.
压力比较大。
He's 121 floors up, a staggering 1,900 feet at the top of the Shanghai Tower. That one last piece, the 7-ton steel brace, still has to be installed. It's Dr. Jia's job to make sure it goes in with a minimum of fuss and maximum fanfare.
今天是负责在我们580米的高度，负责指挥安装我们封顶钢梁的就位。
As the invited dignitaries settle in for the show, the final piece of this gigantic jigsaw puzzle starts its long journey to the top. From this point onwards, the ceremony has to run with split-second timing.
撤！我问一下，待会儿我们整个钢梁的安装的过程的话，下面主会长要看吗？要的。好吧，停一下。好，停1分钟。哎呀，我们就为了上工停1分钟，等你那边指令好。
At the appointed moment, Chairman Kong Ching-wei heads to the stage. 3 years of round-the-clock labor, and it all comes down to this.
好的，小的，好了。
尊敬的上海中心的合作伙伴，希望在座的各位和社会各界更加支持上海中心，期待它的明天，期待它的精彩。
我们钢梁开始就位吧。
收到。
再过2分钟好了，再过2分钟。
收到。
尊敬的广大建设者。
小博，我这边还剩1分钟，小博，让他们继续摇旗。
走过1700多天的电视机会。
好了，他已经。
好的，知道了。
快旗子。
Knowing that thousands of people and his boss are watching, Dr. Jia gives the signal to lower the steel beam into its final position.
施工。上海中心大厦580米高度结构。我个人到今朝体会，每一个供应商都是合格的，都是优秀的。
The core is in place. 5 of the 9 levels are sealed. There's still a year of work left before the first occupants can enjoy the Shanghai Tower and its gardens. But the vision of a self-contained community, of a completely new kind of skyscraper, is almost a reality.
Shanghai Tower is going to be truly a vertical city, and where people can work, live, and play. That's the vision.
Six hours after the building is declared secure, typhoon season arrives in full force. For the time being, the team behind the Shanghai Tower can relax.